In this video, we're going to talk about common English learning mistakes that you have to know if you're an English learner. You have to. You must. But before we start with that, make sure that you subscribe, hit the like button, and if you haven't already, check out my courses in the links in the description. All right, let's begin. I've been teaching English for now over 8 years, so a pretty long time. And in that time, I've been able to see what things work really well, what things help English learners improve faster, and what things don't work well, what things are very bad, what things that you should not do when you're learning English, things that you may want to do that you shouldn't be doing. So we're going to talk about those things. We're going to go through a list, and I look forward to hearing from you guys about this list in the comments. So let me know what you think, and hopefully we can add some things to it. All right, let's get started with the list. I'll just study words. Or I can't work on my spoken English right now because I don't know enough words. I need to study more words. I have to learn more vocabulary. So I'm going to do that first, and then I'm going to practice my spoken English. No. It's never like that, okay? I've had great conversations with people who don't know that many words, and I've had conversations with people who know many words who can't really make a whole sentence. They struggle. There's this common thing. I need to learn more words so I can't do anything else, which is absolutely, totally, 100% wrong, and you shouldn't do it, because the reason you're doing it is likely that you feel safe when you're learning words. The problem is, if you're only focused on learning more words, number one, you're not learning them in context. You're not learning them in a situation, for example, in a conversation. Or you're not learning them in a whole sentence. You're just studying 5. Ooh, I learned 5 more. Ooh, I learned 5 more. Well, good for you, but can you use them? If not, waste of time. I should use everything that I learned. I learned something, now I need to use it. Now I know someone. Okay, I'm going to give you an example here. I know someone who loves studying idioms, okay? Expressions, common expressions that native English speakers say, okay? And he, it's a man, tries to fit them in all the time in every conversation. And it drives me absolutely crazy. And it sounds so strange. Because native English speakers, we don't fit idioms into every single sentence, and we don't force them into place, right? Also, not everybody says every word. Not everybody says every kind of idiom or expression. Absolutely not. My grandmother doesn't say things I say. I can't imagine my grandmother saying, "Oh, that's awesome." My grandma would never use the word awesome. Awesome is for people who are under maybe 50. My grandma is over 70. She would never use it. So just because you learn something doesn't mean you have to use it. Sometimes learning something is enough. Number one, if you try to fit all of the things you've learned in unnaturally, cram them in, you're not going to sound more natural. You're going to sound strange. It's going to sound weird. Why are you trying to use so many expressions? It has to come out naturally. So when you're learning things, make sure you know how they're used. That's why you should be watching movies and watching TV shows. And don't force yourself to use them all the time. And don't force yourself to use all of them, period. Maybe there are some you just know, you just learn them, so you can understand movies and TV shows better. Doesn't mean you have to use them. Learning new things is enough. Learning new things is all I need. I don't need to practice. All right, well, okay. If your goal is just to understand, that's fine. You just want to understand movies, for example, or you just want to understand what you're reading, English books. Okay, you just want to learn. But most English learners want to improve their English. Why? Because they want to speak with their friends who are native English speakers. Because they have a job where they need to use English. They have to write emails sometimes. Right? Whatever. There are lots of different reasons. Most people learn English because they have a reason, because they need to use it. So if you only focus on learning, input, and you never practice, you're never going to be a good speaker, you're never going to be a better writer. Or if I just learn some new words or read a little bit every day, that's enough. Listen, all of these things are good. It's very important to have input, to listen. Awesome, excellent. But never expect that input to automatically result in better output. Never think to yourself, oh, someday, once I know everything, then automatically I'll just be a better speaker. No. If you're the type of person who pretty much only focuses on input, I'll bet you felt pretty uncomfortable when it was time to have a conversation and you couldn't find the words you needed. I know the words, but I can't find them when I'm speaking. Why not? What's wrong? Well, duh. The only way that you're going to get better at finding the words you need when you need them in a conversation is to practice having conversations, is to practice speaking, is to practice writing, if that's what you want to improve. I mean, seriously, it kind of frustrates me. In what world does learning about something make you good at that thing? In what world does learning about ping pong make you a better ping pong player? Of course not. You have to practice it. So, great. Learn words, read, watch movies. I'm not saying don't do that. It's very important. But just know that that's half of your journey, half of what you need to do. If your goal is to be a good communicator, good speaker, good writer, you have to communicate, speak, and write. You have to practice these things. And that might feel uncomfortable. I feel shy. I feel nervous. I don't know what to say. Yes, that's right. Because you haven't practiced it enough. And when you do practice writing and you do practice speaking and you do practice conversations, it will get easier and easier. Your fear should be a sign to you that you're not good enough and that you need to do more of that. If you're afraid of something, there's got to be a reason. What's the reason? I think you know. Practice makes perfect. If I practice, I will be better. Well, I wish that were true. Unfortunately, it's just not true. So I like this sentence much better. Perfect practice makes perfect. And this applies to everything, not only learning things, but also the skills that you gain over time. If you want to be a better writer, you have to practice the right way. Don't just randomly write and then say, well, I'm done, and, throw it away. Make sure it's perfect before you move on. Analyze it, study it, get feedback. Say to yourself, this is the best that I could do. And I looked at it 10 times and I got feedback and I feel that I'm as close as I can be to perfect right now. I'm at my limit. Well, that's much better than just doing some random practice. In both cases, you spent about 30 minutes, right? But the 30 minutes you spent doing it seriously in the right way is far more effective than the 30 minutes you spent sort of just exercising your wrist, right? Seriously. So you have to think about that as well. The people that have improved the most are the ones who are thoughtful in how they practice. Now, I'm not going to talk about every detail of how to practice here, but you have to be thoughtful. Find the effective, productive ways to practice rather than just practicing and saying, hey, I practiced. Okay, I see. Thank you. Okay, I got it. I understand. Now, this happens a lot with my students. Not all of them, but sometimes students will, if I correct something, for example, okay, you said it this way, you should say it this way, whatever it is. Maybe a simple grammar correction or the use of a word or whatever. Okay, I understand. Got it. This is the wrong attitude. Because if you say, okay, got it, you might have got it, but it's only for a moment and then it's gone. If you really want something to stick, you have to struggle through it for a moment. If you get feedback from someone and you get corrections from someone, it's a treasure. You have to take full advantage of it. If you just say, okay, I got it, and then it flies away, it's unlikely that you will be able to really remember it. And when the same sort of situation comes up again, for example, if it's a class and you said something, you're probably going to make the same mistake again. If it's pronunciation and the teacher says, no, it's actually pronounced usually, not urally. And you say, okay, I got it. What do you got exactly? You got what I said? You heard me say it? What part have you got? Say it. Repeat it. Okay, usually. No, that's not right. It's usually. Say it to my face. Say it correctly. Do it again. Let's get it right. Once you repeat it, your brain is kind of saying, okay, now I actually get it. Because we actually did something. There's an action. And then you can say, I got it. I like to use a translator because it's easier. All right, now this is a very common thing. To translate from one language to the other, from English to your language. And I get it. Sometimes you're in a rush. You need to know the meaning very quickly. That's what a translator is for. But please don't use it as a learning tool. If you're at a high enough level to understand the words coming out of my mouth, then you shouldn't be using a translator. Okay, you should be starting to build your English brain. You should be starting to learn English in English. That means using an English dictionary to learn English words. That means reading more. That means watching TV shows without subtitles, at least in your language. English subtitles are okay. That means really learning English with English instead of using a translator, relying on that. Because if you do that, it's going to be very hard for you to actually start thinking in English. But if you start building up your English brain, if you start learning everything in English, you start learning English with English, you're going to start learning how to think in English. You're going to be able to express yourself more easily and more naturally without struggling, without all the energy, without feeling tired. Why isn't English like my language? Why? Now this one I think is very interesting. And it's actually a good question, but if you focus too much on this question, you're going to miss a lot of things. And you're going to not learn a lot of things because you're spending too much time focusing on why. Of course, it is important to ask questions. And it can be very good to say why. To ask why something is true, right? Why is this in the past tense and not in the present tense? I don't understand. Can you explain it? Yeah, so that's a good question, right? Because maybe there's a very good reason. But for some things, like learning expressions, you might say, why does nuts mean crazy? Why does nuts mean crazy? I need to understand the reason that nuts means crazy. But I don't know the reason that nuts means crazy. I mean, I could look it up for you if you want, but is that really going to help? No, not really. So in some cases, and often, you just need to say, okay, all right, I'll remember it. Just accept it and move on. Learn it, learn how to use it, and move on. And don't freak out about not understanding every little thing or making English fit beside your language. Let's just accept that languages are different, learn the best we can, and focus on using rather than understanding everything. So hopefully these common English learning mistakes will help you along your own English learning journey. So good luck. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Leave a comment. Also, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and check out my courses in the links in the description. I will see you next time.